Good morning, everyone. My name's Jonathan, if we haven't had a chance to meet yet. I'm super excited for what we're going to do today and what we're going to talk about today. It is going to be a little bit different, but I'm excited about it. And so if you've been with us since this time around last year, we've been walking through the gospel according to Luke. And so last week we had a retreat where we kind of took a pause from Luke. And this week we're going to take one more week of pause. And the next week we're going to jump right back into it. But the reason why we want to take this time to pause today is because the idea of thankfulness and gratitude is so important, and it's something, as we're going to talk about today, that unless we take the time to stop and pause, many times we just go right on past and we don't take the time to be thankful and be grateful, even though every single one of us has so many things that we are so grateful and thankful for. And I'm especially excited to talk about this because I know for myself, and as I talk to many of you, one of the questions that we try to ask on a pretty regular basis is this question: how are you doing really? And what I love about this community is that this is a group where when we ask how you're doing, we add that little really, because we really want to know. We want to know your authentic self. And for myself and for many other people, what I find is that the real answer to how you are doing recently is something along the lines of: I'm anxious, I'm fearful, I'm stressed, I'm angry, I'm burnout, and isolated. And so just as like a show of solidarity, if you have experienced one of those emotions over the last month, would you raise your hand and show that you're, if you've experienced one of those emotions in the last week, if you've experienced that emotion this morning, that was an exciting little thing. And I get it, me too. And so here's why we want to make sure we talk about thankfulness and gratitude today, is because what I believe is that gratitude and thankfulness is the antidote to all of those different other things. And what I mean by that it's the antidote is I'm not just saying that this is like kind of like a self-help practice and that if we, let's just like focus on the good. And this is a spiritual discipline. This is a spiritual habit. And so what we talk about around here a lot is this idea that God is constantly around us. We are just walking in the midst of the presence of God. And so many times we just miss it because we are just busy and distracted about so many other things. And so what spiritual habits do, Sabbath, daily office, and gratitude, is it helps us to retune our mind to this other reality that is also going on. Because whatever is stressing you out is real. Whatever is burning you out is real. Whatever is making you angry is real. That is a real part of what is happening in this world. But there is another reality of this goodness and hope and joy of God. And when we take the time to stop and pause and be grateful, it helps us to be able to go, oh, that is what else God is doing here. And it just helps reshape our mind and reshapes our heart. And it's just so powerful. And so we're going to take some time to talk about gratitude today. We're going to take some time to practice gratitude. But the big hope for today is that this isn't just something that we do for the next hour, that as we go through this next week of Thanksgiving and throughout this whole holiday season, and let's be generous for our whole life, if we just have this regular practice of stopping and pausing and being grateful. And again, this is super important, I have found, for me over the last little bit. And so this is just, this next few minutes is kind of like John, like upfront public therapy session. So just like join in. But some of you guys might like also be in this same mind frame, and so that's okay. But as some of you who know me, so I am a forward thinker. And so one of the reoccurring discussions in my household is I will come home and Ashley will say, as you would expect, hey, how was your day? What's going on? And like, I just kind of like sit there dumbstruck. Like and not because like I didn't have a day. It's just like I am just so forward thinking that I was like, what did happen today? Did I do anything? And it takes me a long time to actually stop and think what has actually been going on, because I know what is coming up. I know what I need to do. I know what I want to accomplish. I have goals, but to like stop and think is like very difficult for me. And over the last year, we have been moving forward in a lot of different ways. And so I have found it so important that in the midst of all these things, so this is a new building, some of you may or may not know, we just moved in here. We bought it in March, and then we actually moved in July. We've been hiring new staff, and just like with my family, with like work, we've just like, there's been so much that we're like trying to get done, and all I can see so many times is everything that needs to still get done. I look around this room and I'm like, ooh, we need to plaster that, we need to do this, we need to do this. And it's like, I see all the things that aren't done yet, and it can be really hard for me to stop and be like, whoa, let me just celebrate what has happened. And so if you'll indulge me for a second, we are gonna go back to the distant time of November 2024. And so 1 year ago, if you were a part of our church family, then you got an email, and I'm sure you all read it diligently. And in that email, it said, "We are buying a building, !" Woo! And it's a process. We wanted to update you on our next steps in purchasing the third Reformed building. Here's what's happened so far. We learned of the opportunity to purchase the third Reformed building for $20,000. That was last summer, 2024. We conducted a series of inspections and obtained construction estimates, giving us an initial budget of $175,000 for phase one, which is primarily mold remediation and repairs. Who can still picture the mold smell when you used to walk in this building? Glorious. On September 15th, we shared this exciting possibility at our church family meeting, emphasizing that we need to meet significant giving goals in which we to move forward. On September 30th, we announced that we surpassed our goal for one-time pledges and monthly giving increases. On October 2nd, we notified the sellers of the Reformed classes of our intent to purchase the building. On October 22nd, the Reformed classes officially voted to accept our offer. And now on November 3rd, our trustees signed an agreement to retain a real estate attorney who will begin drafting the sales contract. As you can see, there are many steps and details involved. And so, what's next? Before we celebrate our first service in the new building, here's what still needs to happen. Note, these are not necessarily in order. Man, how true that was. We need to finalize a sales contract with the Reformed classes. True story, we just finally now submitted that to the courts that have to finalize sales contracts this past month, so that's exciting. So took a minute, but we got it. We need to begin removal, sale, or disposal of various items currently in the building. How many of you remember carrying some sort of moldy something upstairs over and over and over again? I believe we've filled up a dozen dumpsters over the course of this process. We need to schedule and complete mold remediation and initial construction, including the removal of soft surfaces, ceiling tiles and sheetrock, cleaning of walls and floors, removal of dead and problematic trees, replacement of leaky and flat roofs, installation of a drainage system in the basement, additional preparations including electrical updates, general cleaning, and other necessary maintenance. We're uncertain of the exact timeline, but we know this process will take several months. We'll keep you updated as each step progresses. Meanwhile, we're also preparing to welcome community tenants, raise additional funds, and plan for ongoing maintenance and improvements. Yeah. It is ridiculous the amount that has happened over this last year of so many of you giving money, giving time, giving construction, tenants that are now utilizing this building on a regular basis, day after day after day. There's groups that are coming in that are receiving food, that are receiving literacy, that are receiving all kinds of different education and mentoring. And it's all happened in this last year. And I have to admit and confess that so many times I miss it because I am just so focused on what hasn't happened yet that I can't take time to celebrate what has already accomplished. And again, both those things are true. There are things we still have to do. There's work we still have to get done. But my gosh, what an amazing thing that God has been doing in the midst of our church. And I need to pause and take a moment to give gratitude over it. And that's just the building. There's so much more when it comes to your parenting, when it comes to your relationship with your significant other, when it comes to the work that you've done on your finances or your house, when it comes to what's happened in your place of work, when it happens, you have all kinds of little things where if you stop and pause and look back, the significant steps that have happened over this last year, of course there's more to do. Maybe it's been one step forward and two steps back. But if we stop and pause, there is so much that we would have the ability to give gratitude for. And we want to take time to be able to do that today. Real quick, I want to walk us through just a little bit of a scripture. So we've been going through the gospel according to Luke. After Jesus lived on earth and after he died and rose from the dead, this whole new church movement grew all over the Roman Empire. And one of those was in a city called Thessalonica. And a guy named Paul wrote a letter to the city, this little church in the city of Thessalonica. And I just want to read just a little bit of the end of that letter. And I think this is a great kind of test case for all of us because we live in a world, again, where a lot of us feel anxious and stressed and fearful because there's a lot of pressures in this world. And this was a little group of people, little church, that was in the midst of all kinds of hugely significant pressures. By the fact that they had decided to start following Jesus as king instead of Caesar, they were under intense persecution. Their lives were at some level at risk. Their economic futures were at risk because they were following Jesus. Now, sometimes they weren't able to sell at the market. Some had lost their family ties that now because you're not worshiping the God of kind of like this village, now we don't want you to be a part of our family anymore. They were going through many times. The world that they saw was very difficult. Yet, Paul is asking them to live and see in this other reality that is going on. And so I'm going to go through a couple of these categories. It's printed on your program. This is a interactive Sunday. So everyone grab your program and you can see the verse kind of broken up into like some big chunks there. And so as we go through this verse, what I want to invite you to is that I believe that as you go through, your mind and God will bring some individual people to your mind. And as those individuals come to your mind, I want to encourage you to write their names. And so hopefully under each of these verses, you'll have a name, maybe a couple names, maybe a whole bunch of names under each of these categories. And as you can probably guess, the idea is we don't just want to write these names down. These are people that are going to come to your mind that you are so grateful for something that they have done in your life or something that you have seen them do. And we don't want to just stop about thinking about them and in our minds being grateful for this moment. We want to take the time to express to that person. And we might be able to do that here. We might do it in some other ways as well. So here is the first couple categories of this. So he says, now we ask you, brothers and sisters, to acknowledge those who work hard among you. Who do you know that you have seen that has just been working hard and you've noticed it? Maybe it's in your house. Maybe it's someone that's in this room right now. But you just know they have just been like putting in the time. They have been putting in the extra hours. And as you think about that person, you are just so grateful for the hours and work that those people have put in. Second category. The people who care for you in the Lord and admonish you. So this is a little bit of two categories, but it's often kind of the same category. Who are the people in your life who have taken the time to care for you, to be there for you in some sort of a time of need? And maybe they just put an arm around you. Maybe they gave you a hug when you needed a hug. Maybe they gave you an encouraging text when you needed an encouraging text. Maybe this is, if you're in a community group, maybe this is your community group leader or someone else in your community group. If you're involved in like our kids ministry or teen ministry, maybe this is one of our leaders. Maybe this is a spouse, a parent, a grandparent who has taken the time to, with the ability that they have, to just let you know that they care about you. And maybe one of the ways that they care about you is that they were willing to admonish you, which is not always fun, but isn't it true that so many of us have people in our lives that they took the time to love us in such a way that they were able to tell us a hard truth. And they weren't doing it because they were trying to be mean. They didn't yell it at us. They weren't trying to like get even with us. But they took the time to let us know something that now, maybe not at the time, but now we're like, I am so glad that you were willing to take the time to be able to be truthful with me and let me know how I can be better. Help me notice something that I couldn't notice in myself, but you helped me, you love me, and now I am a better person because you took that time. And then Paul gives us a very specific thing to do with those people. He said, I want you to hold those people in the highest regard and love because of their work. And we're going to get real practical with that. And so we're going to take about 10-ish minutes. And I would like to invite anybody in this room to come forward. Nobody has to. This is a total optional. But for some of you, you just wrote a name down, and that person happens to be in this room. Again, they might be in your family. They might be just someone who is another person in this church. This may be someone who they know exactly what they did, and you guys both already know this story. Some of you you saw somebody do something you've been watching, and they don't even know that you know, but you know. And you are so grateful for that. We want to take a time as a church to publicly express some of that thanks. And so I want to invite anybody who wants to, and we're looking for like the 30-second, so we're not looking for anyone to come up and do a big narrative. This is short. We're looking to come up and say, hey, I just want to take a moment to thank because I saw where this person has done this, and I am so thankful for that. And then you sit down, and then someone else comes up. Again, nobody has to do this, but this is just a powerful thing. I think this is something that should happen at church. And so I'm looking for a handful of people who are willing to do that. And so John is the first one. So come on up here, John, and let us know who you are grateful for.
I wanted to thank Joel for thanking me. And I wanted to get the big and obvious one out of the way. I wanted to thank John. He has been just absolutely grinding away to make sure that this vision that our church has shared has come to fruition. And the way that he has stayed determined and focused on his pastoral duties, in addition to helping to make this happen, is just truly incredible. And it's made all of our generosity, all of our support, all of our hope and prayers possible. And with that, I also wanted to extend gratitude to Heather for continuing to build the Love and Serve Albany ministry, for all of our staff who've been doing great work over the course of the last several months, and to the CCA board that puts in a lot of hours. But, I guess I'm thanking myself with that one a little bit. But that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
I'd like to thank my dad because he's been working so hard, and even though he's been working really hard, and he doesn't want to have a cat, but he takes care of the cat for the rest of our family. And also he spends time with me and my brother even when he needs to do work because he loves us and he knows that we enjoy spending time with him. Dave.
All right, I wanted to shout out Chris from our community group, who often is like the last person in the building, vacuuming, fixing things in the kitchen, just super servant-hearted. Isaac, who serves with our kids, I don't know, he's probably there right now. He's just always with the kids, and he has such a patient, loving way about him. Mary, who works night shifts and then comes and makes coffee and has all her own kids to take care of. I see how hard you work, Mary, and it's inspiring. I also want to thank Corey for his work with the teens. You're such a great leader, and you hold us all together. You're so positive and encouraging in all the work that you do. It's really inspiring. I want to thank Hannah, who will often come early and do band practice and then serve with the teens after, and then come and lead worship. And I see how hard you're working. You have your own things that are going on, and you're serving in two really important ministries, and I see you and I appreciate you. And I want to thank Tin, who's doing sound, who has volunteered with Christ Church for 12 years. And he's just a good friend, and he's not someone who's, he is on stage, but he still has this, behind the scenes kind of a heart that I really love and respect. So that's everybody. And you.
Good morning. I wanted to thank Alice for extending the invites for hospitality and for being generous in her heart and in her deeds, for giving to others, for hosting clothing drives that are still trickling out into our community today through church and through our friends and family that have come over, that the hospitality really means a lot to those that are there in physical form and in spiritual, who are busy, but happy upcoming birthday for things that will be missed, but something that just inspires and sparks something in me to try to find my way to be more hospitable as well, but it fosters great relationships.
Good job.
I just want to thank God for not letting me fall on my face. I wanted to thank everyone who serves in the not preschool, well, also that, but to help with Ian in Kids Church. It's really a blessing to be able to just be here and have a moment to focus. So thank you for that. And thank you to everyone who gave us food after we had Joey. And I don't know why I still feel new here, but thank you to everyone that has treated us like family so soon and made us feel integrated so quickly. So thank you.
We're talking about gratitude, right? This guy is somewhat responsible because there was a time in my life when everything had cratered and I was literally in the valley of the shadow of death, I think. Not a fun place to be. And I went and helped build some houses where he told me it wasn't my job to build the house. It was my job to teach the kids there how to hammer nails and saw boards to build the house. And so I had to really step back and realize it was not about me. And I came home from that exquisite week, and my furnace had blown up literally hours before I got home because my basement had flooded. And I'm like, whatever, because I had so much gratitude from the experience of helping someone who lived at such a lower level than me, and being able to help out. And I don't know any others of you long enough to have that connection that this guy pulled me into, but I have that is a piece of gratitude that never dies in me.
Bruce.
I want to shout out Rebecca Kapczynski. She always sees needs and meets them, and I appreciate that and admire it.
Thank you. You guys are so polite. You can just like come on up.
Mine is not about anybody here, sorry. My sister, who is just separated from her, the person she was living with for 20 years, now lives with me. And she has 3 grandchildren who she tries to do her best to see because they still live with the boyfriend that she broke up with for 20 years. 2 of them do. Anyway, she works hard. She's an LPN. She always tries new jobs. She's always working. And she just tries so hard to not let all that impede her. And that's a hard thing. At 59 years old, to have to start your whole life over. And I just want to be thankful that she chose me to help her do that.
Thank you.
I want to say that I'm grateful for John. There's like a lot of times where I'm like not sure if I would come out and do things, but he's always invited me to come out to volunteer and help out. So I'm very grateful for you pulling me out of my shell. I've always called myself an introvert, but he's kind of helped me come out of that shell. And I also want to say that I'm grateful for Josh. He's always around. Like, I would just be standing around looking and watching him. He's always like picking things up and like doing things around the church, helping with cleanup and setup and all that other stuff. So really appreciative of you too.
We have 2 more. Come on up, Tanya.
Hi, my name is Tanya. Me and my family came to this country 3 years ago after 6 months of war in Ukraine. And it was a very hard time for us. Almost 2 years here, it was the hardest time in our life. We couldn't start to feel happiness here because we lost so much there. And the biggest blessings here in America, it was Josh and his family, Rebecca and his family did to us so much. I don't know who possibly can do so much. For another families, they have their own problems, everything, church, but they spend with us so much time. And when I need like medical help, Rebecca was the first person who put her life and time to help me stand on my own leg and be normal. And they still with us. They like our family here because we don't have anybody on the start here. And this church helped us a lot. John, thank you so much. We appreciate everything what you've done to us. And this church, amazing, amazing. And I'm really grateful for all of you, for this family, for Leslie's family, for all community. You're amazing, guys. God bless you all. Thank you.
John. All right, 1 more. Come on up, Josh. I've heard so much about you over the last little bit. I'm just like in awe.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to thank Gerald too, because he's always busy doing the tear down and the welcoming. It might seem small, but I want to thank all the food people. You know, the people that are doing, make the breakfast and serve the coffee. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you to, what? Annie, Noah, Esther, Charles and Marilyn, Sue. It makes a big difference for me, and Jason for making the pulled pork. You know, we really came out for the crock pot dinners recently, and I've been grateful.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. All right, if you did not get a chance to tell the person that you want to, that you're battery. You are in luck. You can do it whenever. Thank you, Heather. And we're going to go through a couple more categories here. I want you to continue to keep writing on your program. But around you, there are a handful of thank you notes. You can go and find your own as well. But whether you got to come up to the microphone or if you didn't get a chance to come to the microphone, if someone comes to your mind and you have one of those thank you notes, take some time today before you leave to write out that, and you can either give it to someone here or you could give it to someone, mail it over the next day, drop it off at their house, or if you have a phone in your pocket, you are welcome. I invite you to take your phone out at some point during the service, and you can send a text, you can send an email to someone. And wouldn't it be cool if this was just like a normal rhythm in our lives of just like going out of our way to say, hey, I noticed, I saw, and I want to verbally, I want to text it to you, I want to write it to you, and just have this as a practice. And here's what we all know, is that with probably a lot of the folks that we've already said, it's like it's fairly easy because those are people that we're around, and those are people, I'll just keep using this for now. Thank you. Thank you to Heather. Way to go. Heather, I appreciate you seeing a need and meeting it. That's awesome. And there's people that are like, they're in our lives and we're just like automatic because they're just wonderful and they're easy to thank. But Paul is going to take us now a little bit deeper because, again, he's talking to a group of people 2,000 years ago that are in an area where there's a bunch of people that don't like them. And he wants them to be the audacity of following Jesus. He wants them to be thankful and grateful, even for the people that are sometimes a little bit more difficult to love. And this is especially important because some of you are going to spend some time with some of those people over the next couple days and maybe on Thanksgiving. Some of you are going to go over to their houses. Some of you are going to be invited over to their houses. And you're going to spend some time with people that are family, friends, neighbors. And if there's a part of you that's like, it makes Thanksgiving and Christmas tough for you. For some of you, it's not someone that's maybe it's going to be there. It's just like someone that's like in the orbit right now, politics, the world, whatever. And there's going to be a lot of folks that at your Thanksgiving meal are talking a lot of trash about this group or about this person. And what does it look like for us as a group of people to have a different sentiment? So here's how Paul continues. He says, I want you to live in peace with each other. Who are the people that you need to learn to live in peace with? Who are the people maybe you want to write their names? If you're sitting next, you maybe write some initials, some code if you want, that's fine. Who are the people that are difficult for you to be in peace with? Maybe who are the people that you don't have peace with right now? You have conflict. And what would it look like for you to write their names down and figure out what it looks like, to pray for what it looks like for there to be peace? Next piece, maybe you'll like. He says, and we urge you, brothers and sisters, to warn those who are idle and disruptive. It's like, yes, fine. I know how I'm going to like, what the people I don't have peace with, I'm going to like let them know. I'm going to warn them that like if you don't get your act together. And here's what's like important about this is one, that is a part of this discipline of this is not really of gratitude, but it's like it is like a spiritual practice to be honest with people. We are talking about people who've admonished us. And so there is a piece of like telling truth to other people. But there's like all kinds of different axioms of like some people, different ratios of like how many good things you need to hear for bad things. And so like some people say it's like you need to hear 4 good things for every 1 bad thing. And that's, you know, you should like with your kids, without, you know, some people say it's 7 to 1. I read an article this week that said it should be 17 to 1. You should have 17 good things come out of your mouth for every 1 thing. And as you like look through this passage, like this is the one verse about like sometimes you need to be honest and you need to have the hard conversation. And it's surrounded by all these other ways that you should look for ways to find peace, to encourage, to honor other people. And wouldn't that be crazy if like we were that kind of like ratioed people where, yeah, of course we say like hard things to people, but it's so surrounded by all these other good things that even when we say the hard things, it's just so obvious that it's like, of course they're doing that out of love. Of course they're doing, like, that person appreciates me. That person is trying to seek peace with me. Like, that person has my best interest in mind. And so, of course, when they take the time to warn me, it's coming from a good place. Here's the next couple categories. Encourage the disheartened. Give you like a minute to think about this. Who are the people in your world right now that are they're just discouraged? That they've had a really tough time. Give you like a minute to think about this one. And write down some of the names of people in your world who are disheartened right now and are having a tough time. And this next one, it says, help the weak. Give you like another minute. Who is someone in your orbit right now who just physically, spiritually, financially, who is not a category, that's helpful sometimes, but for now, I ask you to pray that God reveals an individual name or names. Who is someone who you know right now who just is weak? Next one, it says, be patient with everyone. And everyone is good. But we're going to be a little bit more precise for a second. Who is someone that maybe the best gift that you could give them this next week is to really hope for Holy Spirit intervention to be more patient with that person? That the best gift you could give is for them to have their moment, just have their space, and if you were just a little bit more patient with them, it could really be a big blessing to them this next week. And then the last one, it says, make sure that nobody pays back wrong for wrong, but always strive to do what is good for each other and for everybody else. And this will take us into kind of our last activity. So keep that verse in your mind, and then this is how he ends it. He says, rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. For people that have decided to make Jesus their Christ, to try to make Jesus their King, they are living in this posture of, with everything else that's going on, that they are always finding a way to rejoice. They are always finding a way to pray. And they are finding a way to give thanks in all circumstances. And so, back to that one. good for each other and for everybody else. I'm going to ask you, hopefully you have a handful of different names down. I want to invite you to get into some groups of 3 or no more than 4. So groups of preferably not 2, so preferably 3, no more than 4 if you need that, but preferably as many groups of 3 as possible. And I would like you to discuss what is one concrete thing that you can do this next week. What's your plan? What's John's plan? What's your plan for this next week that for one of those people on your list, you are going to find some way to do something good, some way to bless them, some way just to let them know in a very tangible way how thankful you are. It could be you're going to write a note. It could be that you are going to at some point find a moment to sit down with them and say, hey, I know a lot of stuff. I just want to let you know just how much I'm thankful for you. Maybe it's that you want to write them a letter. Maybe it's that you want to go and get something done at their house or serve them in some way. I don't know. But what is something that you feel like that maybe as we're going through this list, as you're looking at all these people, what is something that God is calling you to, and share that with a group of people so you have a way to say it out loud. And the goal is that you do this in the next 7 days. And then if you're able to, if you're here next week, then it'd be awesome if you followed up and say, hey, how'd that go? Because I bet the stories that you'll have to share if you follow through are going to be pretty cool about what God does in your heart and what he does in their heart as we take the time to do this. So get in some groups and discuss for a few minutes, and then we'll close out.